Honestly, my Mario Kart video aged better than I thought it would, but we'll get to that. So the Switch 2 finally had its official reveal, more so than the sort of soft reveal we got back in February that kind of just showed it was a bigger Switch with these like new mouse-like functions to the Joy-Cons. Honestly, compared to the first Switch reveal trailer, it was a bit half-hearted. It was kind of just a thing that they did because the leaks were super rampant, and at that point, everything was all but confirmed with new features of Switch 2. But now we know a lot, not only what the Switch 2 is doing to differentiate itself from Switch 1, but also a ton of new games. Not so much first-party Nintendo games because we only got like a couple, but the games we did get were pretty damn good. I gotta say this is a much better first impression than the look we kind of got in February. At least when it comes to the Switch 2 as a video game console, there's definitely some stuff that I don't agree with. Things that Nintendo are doing that is honestly kind of shooting themselves in the foot, but we'll get to that in time. Of course, I did make the video on Mario Kart kind of predicting what we'd actually get, but I kind of want to go in reverse order of the whole direct because I feel like I have the most to say about that and I want to save that at the end. What they showed here I think was pretty good demonstration of, again, what the Switch 2 can do and what Switch 1 can't do based on an objective hardware level. And I suppose we'll start with the game that surprised me the most, and that's Donkey Kong Bonanza. Such a good name, and a game I had never expected to get ever. Donkey Kong has been kind of without a new game for about literally a decade at this point, and his last 3D platformer was, I believe, 64 way back in the 90s. But not only is Donkey Kong back, he's pretty much the star of what's essentially Super Mario Odyssey 2, and that's not an issue at all. I think the Odyssey formula was already super fun. Honestly, Odyssey is one of my favorite platformers ever, and for the team that probably worked on the first game, we don't know at this point, but it very much looks like the main 3D Mario developers. To take Donkey Kong and kind of like throw him in there with the stuff that he can do, it looks fantastic, and I can't wait to play it. I also wasn't expecting Kirby Air Ride 2 or Kirby Air Riders. Kirby's a pretty safe bet when it comes to getting games within like the first couple years of a console. Very popular franchise, and since Star Allies was relatively like close to the Switch's launch, seems like Kirby was a shoo-in for at least some sort of involvement within the first couple years. I didn't think Nintendo would want to do that, like Mario Kart World would be kind of the one and only racer, at least for a little bit. But it's not only that, it's the return of Sakurai as developer for the Kirby games, and that makes a whole lot of sense. I believe Kirby Air Ride was the last game he worked on before he left HAL and started his own company and stuff. So it's kind of funny how things work out, but yeah, he's back. He's back as Kirby director, and that kind of puts some questions on certain things. I mean, the most obvious one is Smash going to be something we're going to see for a while? And I mean, not to say that Sakurai hasn't or won't be involved with the next Smash game. He's had a flawless director credit though through the Smash series, and to have him not involved, I think would not only be a hindrance towards the next game, but also just something I don't think Nintendo would want. I feel like they put a lot of trust in his work and his development within the Smash Bros. Series. I do think eventually, just how time is. Eventually, I'm sure Sakurai wants to retire and he'll probably choose a successor, but I guess time will tell on that one. Other than that, it was just sort of a CG trailer to announce the game. It's possible he's been working on Smash, but Sakurai kind of did this CG announcement thing with Smash Ultimate, and that Ultimate was developed right after 4 was finished, so who knows. Moving on, The Dusk Blades, an exclusive From Software game that I feel like nobody expected whatsoever. Every once in a while, Nintendo will kind of crawl out there for the whole family kind of narrative. Everyone seems to pin on them to branch out to a more mature audience. We saw this with Bayonetta 2. You can argue Metroid's been sort of a more mature series for the average Nintendo gamer. Now we got this game. Now personally, I've never played a From Software game. I do own Sekiro and Elden Ring, but I've yet to play them. I've had interest, just not the time to invest in it. But this seems like a tried and true game from what I've seen from them anyways. And it kind of gives maybe sort of a preview for the type of third-party exclusives we might see on Switch 2. It's more capable of running games that run on present gen at least, so we can likely see more games like this exclusive to the system. Speaking of third parties, again, companies are definitely more willing this time around to have games ready year one. I won't spend any more time on these because it's not much more than that. Deltarune Chapter 3 and 4 were cool to see. It seems like we're getting some exclusive controls and possible content like Undertale on Switch. Hades 2 seems like a perfect fit, can't wait to play that. And Silksong fans, I feel so bad for you. You guys just got the freaking Silzo reel. GameCube on NSO. It's about damn time, guys. I'll just say right now, Virtual Console was an infinitely better way of distributing legacy content, in my opinion, especially since games are starting to be removed off the service. But with the concept of live services that refuses to be any less monetary with each year, I suppose this is still pretty cool. The selection seems pretty solid as of what they showed. I'm a little worried that Wind Waker was the first game they showed, which means it's likely that the HD port isn't going to be back for a while. Same thing probably with Twilight Princess HD. F-Zero GX is perfect for NSO, I think. Props there, but I think there's two big games missing so far. Those, of course, being Double Dash and Melee. I don't know why Nintendo refuses to put Legacy Smash on NSO. They got kind of lucky because OG Smash is like fine, but I don't think anyone's like clamoring about it for 64 NSO. But not having Melee, that's gonna cause some upset. As for Double Dash, it probably has a better chance, but I wonder why it's not a launch game with the service. So yeah, this is still cool, but damn it should have been here way sooner than this. Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. I don't know. Obviously it's too soon for a big Zelda game, but I was hoping for a different Nintendo franchise to get a Warriors game. I think like a Kirby one would work pretty well. But hey, at least it's not gonna run at like 10 FPS like Age of Calamity did. Dragon Drive. Seems like that we need a game to show that our new gimmick could actually work well game. It honestly looks really tiring to play, how you need to constantly move the Joy-Cons in motion for input. And I don't get much from how it looks visually as well. Honestly, should have been a free pack-in game for the system. And speaking of things that should be free, the upgrade packs. Now I get why things such as Jamboree TV and Kirby in the Forgotten Land are costing a bit extra. It's new content to play, that's fine. But in particular, the Zelda games, where you essentially pay for more of the game just to function better, that sucks. Zelda Notes doesn't seem that substantial, just kind of ties down on the busy work that you're probably doing anyways, or just looking up a guide. Although I do like for Tears of the Kingdom, you can download other people's vehicles and stuff they make. Welcome Tour should have definitely been a free tech demo. I don't think anyone's gonna pay for how a Switch 2 works, the game. It's interesting to people interested in internal hardware, but not interesting enough to buy, I think. But of course, there's still the thing I was looking forward to the most, and the thing they first showed off, which I wasn't expecting. I thought it was gonna be the last thing that they showed. Mario Kart World, and holy shit, guys. There's a big old f***ing Mario Wonder elephant in the room, and we'll get to that. But just talking about how the game looks, I mean, wow. I made a previous video kind of predicting what the game was going to be like, so I guess we can go through what I actually did and didn't predict. It's much more open-ended, like I said, but I wasn't expecting it to practically be free roam. In terms of scope, this is a huge upgrade from 8 Deluxe. Hell, any previous Mario Kart. The Wonder Sea turned out to be a cosmetic swap. Very cool. I see no signs of coins anywhere as an item, thank God. Post recording this, I looked back at the gameplay footage and guess what I saw? Great! The roster is f***ing massive and some really funny and out of left field choices everywhere, to be honest. I can't believe I actually called characters like Pianta, Goomba, Piranha Plant, Pokey, but never in my life would I've called Cheep Cheep Cataquack, the goddamn cow from Moo Moo Meadows. Also, Dry Bones and Nuclears made the cut. You can rail grind, race on the boat, drive on the wall, kind of like Anti-Grav, but not really. Drive around the map with friends, takes pictures with them. Races have these like elimination elements to them now. And are you looking at this game? This game just visually looks phenomenal. And the art direction is this cartoonish but still visually dense look that the series is made for. This looks like one of the most quality Nintendo games, well, ever to me, honestly. But while this game looks very innovative and fun, there's a big problem. And this doesn't just go for Mario Kart. Well, it kind of does, but we'll get to that real quick. But this goes for the majority of the games talked about here and possibly the Switch 2 itself. The Switch 2 is $450. The Mario Kart World Bundle is $500. And Mario Kart by itself will be $80 digitally and $90 physically.
Okay, fine, I'm cool, I'm fine.
So, let's try to be fair here. $450 for the console. I know we were all hoping for $400, but based on what they showed, a hybrid console that can run 4K 60 FPS docked and 1080 120 FPS on the go, that's not a terrible price. We need to keep in mind that this isn't pre-Switch era Nintendo anymore. I'm 99% sure that the price of the OG Switch would have been higher if the Wii U didn't bomb sales-wise. But this is a Nintendo that knows how successful the Switch is, or just Nintendo is right now, to be honest. This is very clearly a way to test the waters a bit, to see how much the average consumer is going to pay for it. And I gotta be honest, I hate this. I really do. I feel like they even knew this thing was overpriced. I mean, why else throughout the whole thing did they never mention any price details at all? For the longest time, industry standard was $60, until that changed a couple years ago to $70. Due to inflation and a bunch of other economic factors, Nintendo was trying to raise it up yet again. And I think they're shooting themselves in the foot, like I said earlier. And the weird thing is, it's only Mario Kart World at the moment. DK Bonanza is $70. And as much as that sucks, that's at least industry standards for modern games nowadays, and it does look like it's valued at that price. Objectively speaking, Mario Kart World does not look like it's worth $90, period. 70? Sure, that's reasonable, and if it's not to you, that's kind of a fault at the industry at the moment, and I get your reasoning behind that. But 80 and especially 90 is way too much. Back in the day, prices actually varied from game to game. Whether or not there should be a return to that type of pricing, well, I don't know. I would lean towards not that, since that mostly comes down to how companies feel like they should price their games. And in this case, I do believe this is overpriced, regardless of how quality the game looks. And yeah, this is pretty upsetting. Whether or not you decide to buy it at the price is up to you, but I will say if you do have a bit of contention, I guess the best thing would just be to simply let your voice be heard and tell companies that this is not a price that we want to settle for. I mean, who knows? People have already been pretty vocal about it. I think Nintendo will change their prices. Best case scenario, Nintendo actually changes the prices, but I suppose I'm being a bit optimistic in that sense. But that's all we can really do at this point. So yeah, Mario Kart Tour looks phenomenal, but man, that pricing is just a bit too much. And now, thanks to tax tariffs, yes, this is once again a post-recording update. The Switch could be up to $700 or around that point. It depends on how much the tax tariffs are. And yeah, that's definitely not a good price point at that point. You know, the economic situation right now is just really bad, but you know, that's a topic for another day. That can be its own video itself, to be honest, but I really don't want to talk about that because it's just such a shitty situation. You gotta love video games sometimes, you know? I don't think it's controversial to say that the Switch 2's only problem at the moment is the pricing at the moment. Aside from that, it looks great. The first party offerings look like quality I expect from the company. The third party support is plentiful, and there's enough new here to warrant picking up the console for both returning Switch and new players. But at this pricing, I think that's where things get shaky. You could argue that the console itself is a bit overpriced, and Mario Kart World definitely is, again, regardless of how pristine it looks. So I guess it really comes down to how much are you willing to spend, you know? And I'm a bit curious about whether or not you think that it's worth buying at this price or not. I could see both arguments, but I guess we'll just have to wait to see if this thing does well or not. But yeah, that's everything. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later.